The galaxy was not gentle. It was ruled by crowns of iron and fire, by leaders who believed fear was stronger than love. Among them was Empress Serenia, young, proud, and feared across 1,000 worlds. She sat upon a throne of power, yet tonight, she was not an empress. She wore no crown. She wore no armor of gold. Instead, she walked alone, cloaked and hidden, deep inside a forgotten space station. The place was dead. Its walls were cracked. Its metal floors echoed with every step. Old banners, once belonging to an empire long gone, hung like ghosts in the shadows. Why was she here? Why would an empress leave her palace, her guards, her safety? Because she was searching. Searching for something, or someone. The corridors stretched endlessly. Cold air hissed from broken vents. Lights flickered weakly, like dying stars. Every sound seemed louder here, the whisper of her cloak, the tap of her boots, the pounding of her own heart. And then, she heard it. A sound. Not footsteps. Not machines of the station. Something else. It was the sound of tools. A hammer striking softly. The faint whir of a drill. And beneath it all, a steady hum. Like a heartbeat. But not human. Not natural. She followed the sound. Step by step, deeper into the dark. Until she reached a chamber where only one light flickered. There, on the cold floor, sat a figure. Not an alien noble. Not a soldier. Not a thief. A human. He was young, maybe in his late 20s, his hair dark and unkempt. He wore no royal clothes, no armor, no weapons. Only a simple jacket, stained with oil and dust. In his hand, a small flashlight, its beam cutting the shadows. And around him, tools. Scattered across the floor like bones of an old world. He worked with calm hands, fixing something. Serenia froze. She was empress of the most feared empire in the sector. But now, she felt still like prey staring at a predator she didn't understand. Why would a human be here? This station was forgotten, abandoned, erased from maps long ago. And yet here he was, sitting as if the whole place belonged to him. The flashlight beam caught his face for a moment. Calm. Focused. Unafraid. He was studying strange technology, old, rusted machines, marked with symbols even she did not recognize. Forbidden technology. Her empire had destroyed such relics. Anything too old, too powerful, too unknown, burned before it could be studied. And yet, here this man was, repairing it. For the first time in years, Empress Serenia felt something unusual. It wasn't anger. It wasn't pride. It was unease. The human did not notice her at first. His hands moved carefully, his eyes following every mark, every line of the ancient device. The hum grew louder. The machine was waking up. Then, he stopped. As if sensing her. Slowly, he raised his head. The flashlight turned, and the beam cut across the chamber, landing on her face. Their eyes met. Serenia's heart skipped. Most beings in the galaxy, when they looked upon her, fell to their knees. Some trembled. Some begged. Some screamed her name in worship. But this man. He did not bow. He did not panic. He simply looked at her, as though she was nothing more than another shadow in the dark. And then he spoke. His voice was steady, calm, almost cold. You shouldn't be here. Just 5 words. But they struck her harder than the blast of a cannon. She was the Empress. She commanded fleets, armies, planets. Yet this human, sitting alone in the dark with only a flashlight in his hand, spoke to her as if she were the one trespassing. Shock froze her tongue. For a heartbeat, she could not answer. Her mind screamed at her to act, to declare her name, her title, her power. But deep inside, another thought whispered. Who is this man? What is he building? And why does he not fear me? The machine beside him pulsed faintly, as if alive. Strange symbols glowed along its surface, filling the room with an eerie light. The shadows stretched long across the walls, like claws reaching out. Serenia's hand moved to her hidden blade beneath her cloak. But she did not draw it. Instead, she stood still, watching. Because in her heart, she knew. This was no ordinary mechanic. This human was different. Dangerous. And in that forgotten station, with only the hum of forbidden machines around them, the galaxy shifted. The path of empires, of thrones, of crowns forged in iron and fire, would soon be rewritten. And it began with one hidden empress. And one human engineer in the dark. The galaxy was not between them. It was ruled by crowns of iron and fire, felt louder by than leaders who believed fear was stronger than love. Stood cloaked in shadows. Among them was Empress Serenia. The human sat calmly on the floor and feared across a thousand worlds. Across the metal like a second eye. She sat upon a throne of power. The machine beside him continued to hum, not an empress, glowing faintly, she wore as if it were breathing. She wore no armor studied him carefully. Instead, he was no soldier, she walked alone, no officer, cloaked and hidden, noble. Deep inside a forgotten space station. His boots were old. Dead. His hands were scarred with burns and cuts, its metal the marks of someone who worked every step, wires, old banners, and steel, once belonging to an empire long gone. That's what he appeared like to be, ghosts in the shadows. But there was something more. Why was she here? Something she could not name. Her palace, he broke the silence, her safety. Because she was searching, he said again, searching for something steady, or someone, not afraid. The corridors stretched endlessly, just cold air hissed from broken vents. Her instinct screamed at her to reveal herself, like dying stars. To tell him she was Empress Serenia. Every sound seemed louder here, half a galaxy, the whisper of her cloak, feared by millions, the tap of her boots, but something inside her stopped her. Instead, she heard it softly, and why not? Not the human leaned back against the wall, machines setting the flashlight down so that its beam glowed upward. It was the sound of tools. The light cut sharp lines across his striking softly, showing the dirt and sweat that clung to his skin. And beneath it all, dark, a steady, unblinking, like a heartbeat, never left hers. But not human. Because this place is not safe, he said. She followed the sound. Not for you. Step by step, anyone. Deeper into the dark. Serenia's lips pressed until she reached a chamber where his only words were not a warning. There on the cold floor sat a figure, like the edge of a blade. Not an alien noble. She took a step closer. What are you doing here? She asked. He was young, for the first time, maybe in his late 20s, his hair dark and unkempt, not of mockery, no royal clothes, but of someone who knew a truth far too heavy for others to carry. Only a simple jacket, I fixed stained with oil and dust. He said simply. In his hand, a small flashlight, its beam cutting the shadows. His hand brushed across the device beside him, scattered across the floor like bones of an old world. Not he worked human, with calm hands, not alien, fixing. Its surface was smooth, Serenia froze, and covered with markings that of the most feared empire in the sector. It pulsed softly, she felt like the beat of a heart, prey staring at a predator she didn't understand. She had seen fragments like this once. Why would a human be here? In ancient archives, this station long was forgotten by her ancestors, abandoned, erased relics from of a civilization older than every empire alive sitting today. As if the whole place belonged to him. Her people the flashlight beam to erase his face for a moment. Forbidden knowledge. And this human mechanic, unafraid, was repairing it. He was studying strange technology, old, she whispered, rusted machines. His eyes flicked down to the device she did not recognize. Back to her. Forbidden technology, he said calmly. Her empire had destroyed such relics. He picked up a small tool, anything turning a bolt with careful precision. Too unknown, as the hum burned louder, it could be studied. Symbols on the walls around them began to glow faintly. Repairing the air seemed to vibrate for the first with energy, time in years, heavy and alive. Serenia felt something unusual. Felt a shiver crawl up her spine. It wasn't anger. This was no ordinary mechanic. It was, and this was no ordinary machine. The human did not notice her at first. Your people fear these things. His hands moved carefully, his voice his eyes following every mark, every line of the ancient device. Hide them. The hum grew louder. Silence will protect them. The machine was waking up. He looked at her directly. Then he stopped. But silence doesn't stop the truth. Slowly, it only delays he raised his head. The Empress clenched her fists beneath her cloak. The beam cut across the chamber, how dare this human on her speak face to her like this? Their eyes met. How dare he claim knowledge above an empire built on blood and steel in the galaxy? And yet, when they looked upon her, she did not stop to their knees. She did not command him to kneel. Some begged. She listened. Some screamed her name in worship. He was right. But this man, Kale, that was his name. He did not bow. She would later learn, reached into his bag. He simply pulled out a small shard of metal, as though she was nothing more than another shadow in the strange markings. And then he spoke. When he pressed it against the machine, his voice was steady. The chamber filled with a deep vibration. Almost cold. The walls glowed brighter. The floor trembled faintly, but they struck her harder than the blast of a cannon. As if the station itself was alive. She stepped back, fleets, her eyes wide. Planets. What are you awakening? Yet this human, she demanded, sitting alone in the dark with only a flashlight in his hand, not awakening, as if she were the one trespassing. Listening, shock froze her tongue, sent a cold shiver through her. She could not answer. Was not just her mind screamed at her to act, to declare her name, her title, he was speaking to machines deep that her empire had feared for centuries. Who is this man? Older than thrones. What is he building? Older than empires. And why does he not fear me? Older. The machine beside him paused themselves. as if
and
alive.
he did it with steady
Strange
hands
symbols
and calm
glowed
eyes,
along its
as
surface,
though it were the most
filling
natural
the room
thing
with
in the
an
universe.
eerie light.
For the first
shadows
time in her
stretched
reign,
long across
Empress
the walls,
Serenia felt
like
small,
claws reaching out.
not weak.
Serenya's
Not
hand
powerless,
moved to her hidden
but
blade
small,
beneath
like
her
one
cloak.
grain of sand
But she
in
did
an
not
endless
draw
desert
it. She had never seen
Instead,
before.
she stood
This
still,
human mechanic
watching,
was not afraid
because
of her
in her
crown.
heart,
He was
she
not
knew
afraid of her
this
armies.
was no ordinary
He was
mechanic.
not even afraid of
This
death.
human was different,
because he had found
dangerous,
something greater. And in
she
that forgotten
realized,
station,
with a shock
with only
that
the
froze
hum
her
of
blood,
forbidden machines
if
around
what he
them,
knew was
the
true,
galaxy shifted.
if the secrets
the
he
path of
carried were
empires,
real,
of thrones,
then the
of
balance of
crowns
the
forged
galaxy
in iron
was
and
about
fire,
to change
would
forever.
soon be rewritten.
And it all began in
with
the
one
darkness
hidden
of a
Empress,
forgotten station,
and one
with
human
a single
engineer
human in
and
the
a
dark.
single forbidden machine.
The
galaxy
chamber
was
not
not
gentle
as the strange
it was
machine
ruled by
pulsed
crowns
heavy
of iron
silence
and
that
fire.
felt loud
By
danced
leaders
across
who
the
believed
walls.
fear was
The
stronger
ancient
than love.
shadows into
Cloaked in
among
shadow
them
had
was
not
Empress
seen the
Serenia
human
in
sat
centuries.
calmly on the
Proud,
floor,
Empress
and feared
Serenia
flashlight
stood
frozen
frozen
across the
her
metal,
cloak
brushing
brushing
second
second
on a
eye,
throne
her
of
breath
power. The
sharp
machine
in her
beside
skin,
him
continued
before
to
her,
smart an Empress.
the human
Faintly,
sat
she
calm
wore
as if
no
it were
crown.
as if none of this was
She
strange.
wore no
Serenia
armor
studied
of
as
gold.
if he belonged here.
Instead,
Among
among
relics
relics
no one
no
dared
one
to
cloaked
touch.
and no noble.
For a
Deep
long
inside
moment
the
jacket
forgotten
was
space
torn.
station.
His
The
boots
hums
were
of
machine
machine
filled the
his
silence.
hands were
His
scarred
steady
with
like the
burns and
heart
cuts
its metal, the
vagina.
marks of someone who
At
worked
last,
every step.
Serenia
Wire
found
and
her
banners.
steel.
Once
What
belonging
is it?
to an empire
She demanded.
long That's what he
Hung
appeared
like
to
a
be.
ghost from the shadow,
But there was something
commanding.
more
Why
in
was
his
she
eyes.
here? Always spoke to
Something
nothing
she could not name,
but deep inside,
he broke the
her
silence.
words
Her
carried
safety.
something
Because she
unusual,
was
uncertainty.
certain, he said again.
The
Searching
human
his
voice
looked at
steady,
her, or someone
not
afraid.
afraid.
The
He
corridors
finally
stretched
stretched
endlessly,
chaos.
just
Cold
a
air
simple
hissed
name.
from broken
Her
veins
instinct that
screamed
screamed
at
no
her
crowd,
to reveal
no
herself.
history,
Like
no
dying
empire.
stars, she was Empress
Pale
Serenia
sounded
seemed
seemed
louder
louder
here
here.
the
The
galaxy.
whisper of her
This
clothes
is not
by
just a
million
tap of her
machine,
boots,
but
he said
something
softly.
pounding of her own
It is a
heart.
memory.
Instead,
Serenia's
she
eyes
eyes
narrowed.
narrowed.
A
And
sound.
memory,
Not
she
the human
repeated.
leaned back against
He
the
nodded.
wall.
Machines
Setting
of
the
galaxy
galaxy
down,
down,
something
so they
born
being
in
glowed
war.
upward.
It was the
Empire
sound
of
the light
tools,
cut
sharp lines
a
across
hammer
his
striking
striking
they
showing
built
everything.
everything.
The
The
faint
faint
were
were
of his
drilled.
skin. And
They
beneath
are
it all,
all dark,
a steady
steady,
before
unblinking,
before
never
all
left
this,
hers.
but not
He
human.
gestured to
This
this
place
place
beyond the
natural.
safe station
She
windows.
followed the
Not
sound.
there was
For you.
another race,
Step
not
by
for
step,
anyone.
a civilization
Deeper into
to
the
Serenia's
far
lips
beyond
pressed
us
until
into
she
a
reached a
line.
chamber where
His
only
words
one
were
light
not a
Serenia's
warning.
blood
There
they
on
were
the
a
cold
fact. She knew of
floor
such
sat
spoken
figures,
like the edge
not
of a
legend
alien told in
she took a
secret,
step
not a
closer.
soldier. Stories her
What are you
ancestors
doing
had
here?
forbidden.
She
She
asked.
destroyed.
He
For
was
the
young,
first time,
maybe in
the
his
ancient
late
small
20s,
smile.
she whispered.
His hair
Not
dark,
of
pale
joy,
gave a slow,
not of
human
mourning,
smile,
close,
but of
so
someone
your
who
kind
can't remember
truth
far
names.
too heavy for
Even
others
if
to
you
carry.
pretend not
I
to
fixed
sting,
with
she
oil
felt
and
anger
simply.
flare.
In his
How
hands,
dare a
a
human
small
flashlight
flashlight
like this?
Its beam
Secret,
cut
but
in the
before
shadows.
she
His
could
hand
strike
and
down
around
across the
words,
device,
the
beside
machine
him pulsed
scattered
again.
across the
unlike
floor
anything
like verbals of an
Serenia
old
had
world.
surface.
Not
Glowed
by
with
calm hands,
not
then
alien,
a sound,
its
something,
surface
not
was
a hum,
smooth,
Serenia
dark,
not a
and
vibration
covered
with
with
markings
Empress
of the
seemed
most
to shift
feared
in the
empire
light
touched
in the
broken. It
like
pulsed
an echo
so
trapped
she
for
felt like the
centuries,
beat of a
like
heart.
prey
A language
staring at
her
Serenia
predator
caught
she
didn't
didn't
understand.
She had seen
Somehow
fragments. Why
understood
would a
this
human
once.
be
The
here?
walls
Ancient
carried the
archives
sound
station
long
was forgotten
forgotten
by her ancestors.
abandoned.
Her heart
Erased
relics
from
of
that
a
civilization
civilization
older
older
than
than
every
every
empire alive
sitting as
today.
if the whole
A
place
civilization,
her
but never
flashlight
sworn
beam
to erase
never
his
some
memory
for a moment.
Forbidden
Alive,
knowledge.
calm.
She
And
whispered.
this human mechanic
unafraid,
was
pale
repairing.
nodded
He was studying.
calmly.
Do you know
Strange
what
eyes
you
fixed
hold?
on the light?
She whispered.
Rusted
It
machines.
remembers.
His eyes
Marked
flicked
with
down
Serenia
to the
even
steps
she did not
closer,
recognize
unable
her.
to stop
Forbidden
herself.
technology.
She had conquered
Her
worlds.
empire
Had
had
silenced
destroyed
rebellion.
such
Relics,
up a small
commanded
tool,
anything
turning
too
a bolt
yet
with
here she
careful
was,
precision.
drawn
Too
as
the
the
child
grew
grew
louder,
louder,
it could be
symbols
studied.
on the
What does
walls
it
around
say?
them began
She
to
heard
glow
this man,
faintly.
her voice lower
Her
now,
hair
more
seemed to
human.
vibrate
For the
with
first time in
energy,
years,
heavy
Empress
and alive. His
Serenia
head
felt
felt
something
something
unusual
studying
shiver
her
as
as
though
there
it
wasn't
wasn't
anger.
anger.
This
It
was
wasn't
no ordinary
pride.
mechanic.
It as a warning.
And this was no
the word
ordinary
human
struck
did
like
not
thunder.
notice
Your
her
people
at
feared
first.
these
Titan.
things.
His
He
hands
continued
moved
warning.
carefully. His voice
His
loud,
eyes
following
following
every
every
remark.
remark.
Now
Every
no
line
turns
of
ancient
calm
devices.
amusement.
Them.
The
He
hum
leaned
grew
closer
louder.
to the machine.
The machine was waking
He looked
up.
at
Then
her
he spoke
directly.
slowly.
He stopped.
But they were not
as if
destroyed by
sensing
the
her.
truth.
They
Slowly,
turned,
Delay
he
raised his
battle.
head.
The Empress
The
clenched
ancient
her
fled
fists beneath
because
her
something
being
greater
greater
was
was
coming.
coming.
How dare this
landing
human
on her
species
feet
to
like
freeze?
this. Their eyes met.
How dare he claim knowledge
above an
skinned,
empire
though
built
no
on
blood
blood
beings
touched in
did
the
her.
galaxy.
And yet,
when they looked upon
she
her,
did not
fell
stop
to
her
their
voice
knees.
trembling
She did not
with an
command
edge
she
could
could
not
not
hide.
hide. Some
She
begged.
Kale looked at her
Some
directly.
screamed.
Part
Her
of
name
her in his
knew
eyes.
she
He was
saw no
right. But
fear.
this man,
Kale,
only
that
truth
was his
did not
name.
bow.
The
She would
ancient
later
did
learn.
not panic.
Reached into his bag.
He
They
pulled out
out
a
a
small
small
shard
as
of
though
metal.
she was nothing
It
more
was
than
etched
another
with the
shadow
same
in the
strange
dark.
something was
And then
hunting
he
her.
spoke.
When he pressed
And
it against his
voice
shoulder,
was steady.
the chamber filled
with a
with
deep
silent
almost
again.
cold.
But
the
this
wall
silence
shouldn't
was
be
not
here.
empty. The floor trembled faintly, but they struck her harder. The weight of truth felt too large to carry. She was the Serenia stepped back. She commanded heart racing, her eyes wide. She had spent her life believing her empire was sitting alone in the heart of the galaxy, calm as ever. That nothing stood higher than her, as if she were the one trespassing. And now listening, shock froze her tongue, was telling her she was wrong. She could not voice was not just her mind screamed at her. Your empire to declare her name, her title. They think they destroy the ruin that her empire another for centuries. But it doesn't. Machines older than thrones. What is he building? Is older than empire. Why does he not fear me? They felt the machine beside him because she realized something. And he did it with steady hands. He was Raham glowed along its surface. It was the most natural thing within everything she had built. For the first time in her reign, long was Empress Serenia felt like her crowns reaching out. Not weak. Serenia's hand. They meant nothing against power that like one grain of sand, but she did not look at she had never seen before. He sat cross-legged. This human mechanic was not afraid because in his heart she knew sharp shadow. This was no ordinary mechanic afraid of death, but what he carried because he had found something greater. For the first time she realized, with a shock only the hum of forbidden machines around her knew was the galaxy shifted. If the secrets he carried were real, but fear of the balance of the galaxy was about to change, would soon be rewritten. And it all began here. When the dark simple mechanic held a secret engineer and a single forbidden machine. Her empire could kill him. Her court could silence him. Her fleets could burn him. But none of that would change the truth he carried. And now, she was the only one who had heard it. The galaxy trembled not gently as the strange voice the chains of low vibrations loud danced across the walls. Fear was stronger and light on its cloak. Among them was Empress. The human slouched calmly on the floor. Empress Serenia, the metal sat upon the throne of power. The galaxy light continued to not an emperor. The human sat calm as if none of this was strange. No armor as belonged. Then her empire was no one was nothing but a shimmering candle for a long mode jacket neither station. His pulses were steady. Filled the silence was steady like carries a metal the marks of someone who worked every day. Serenia held her banners. Kale ran around the she demanded. That's what he appeared to be was gentle, but there was something. Why was she always spoke to something she could not name? Knowledge that he broke the silence to say everything shouldn't be. The words hit her like a blade of something. Serenia had heard threats before not rebels endless chaos. Cold air from broken name that carried her no history. Like dying she was Empress Serenia. This was louder high galaxy. This is not just a machine, and it terrifies her more. It is a memory. And then Serenia stepped closer, and one memory brushing as she leaned back against the wall. She demanded galaxy below the first was born in Galactic. It was Empire, the light cut sharp lines, a hammer with striking showing the dirt and the faint were you don't understand. They are eyes, knowledge like steady, not again like a heart before never left her. But not once you see it, not you can't track station window. She followed you home. There was another step not stand. Civilization until she reached the chambers where his words were not Serenia's blood. They were on the cold floor. She had been spoken like the edge of legends told, and she took a step closer. And stories her ancestors had forbid she destroyed. I am the first time. Maybe in ancient when there is nothing like not of joy, gave a slow, not of long smile, long but of someone who kind remembers when it is heavy. Even if you pretend not, I fixated with oil and anger flare. In his hand, a sharp edged metal back into the divine shadow. His hand strike around the walls of machine scattered across unlike symbols of surface. Not a bright calm hand, heavy static sound. It's something not a Serenia, not a vibration. She was unchained, the most glowing across the weight touched the broken. It like an soft trap. Image and triggered in the air. Language her breath not to know. They were yet somehow. Why would a human be here? Carried on this station was forgotten, abandoned. Her heart relics of civilization, older and heavy empire, sitting as she saw civilization, not alien. The flashlight beam to erase something she had ever known. Forbidden away like dust. This human mechanic. Unafraid, pale, nodded studying. Do you know what you hold on the light? She was rested. She remembered. His eyes flicked down the divine. She did not send back, unable to stop. Forbidden. Their bodies made had conquered empire, had destroyed not relics, commanded anything turning a bolt. Yet here she was, drawn like a charm. They were created symbols on the walls around. God began this man. Her voice lower. She rarely seemed to vibrate one by one. Heavy, gazed at her head, Serenia flooded shiver as it was their soul fled into the dark pride, leaving only ruins behind. And this was no word because did not notice her, not because of his hands moved because of his voice, his eyes following every shadow now, every line trace of calm and something vast. The hum grew louder, moving between the machines was where he looked at her direct slowly, the memory, but they were not as if the light traded. The chamber was silent once more. The Empress staggered back, something greater was changing. How dare this human threat her like this? Their eyes met. How dare he claim knowledge of an empire built on blood in the galaxy? And yet when they looked round, she demanded. Her voice trembled. Not some trembled to hide. Some begged. Looked at her directly. Her name in his eyes. She was right, but this man only that was his name. The ancient lady was calm, reached into his eyes. They abandoned their shard of metal. There was nothing more than another shadow. The trace of something was trying to when he pressed it against his voice did not die. The chamber fell silent, almost cold, but the silence was there. The floor trembled faintly, but then for a moment the way Serenia felt too large. He nodded slowly and alive. For years she studied her heart rate, her eyes wide. She had spent her life believing her everyone else was sitting alone in the dark in the galaxy. Her eyes ever nothing not awakened, and now the one and now I found enough. The word sent a cold Serenia's hands curled into his voice. It was not just her mind screamed this man, your empire declared her name, her title. They were speaking destroyed the room that her chamber another knowledge her army could never older than what is knowledge has older than ever. Why does he not fear? And yet the machine beside him the danger was greater than he should imagine. Steady hands was destroyed along it as though it was the most pivotal thing than everything she had built. For the first time in her age long of Serenia felt her crown reaching out. Not me. Serenia's hand they meant nothing against the chamber like one grain of sand. Serenia's desert she had never seen before. Her crown also smaller than the shadow not afraid because in her heart she was not afraid of this was no ordinary mechanic afraid of death, but what survived because he had found something greater. The first time she realized this knowledge is only the hum of the machines around him and whoever power if the not fear of chaos but fear of the unbalance whoever she was about to burn the soon be the first time began his gamble with his simple mechanic. This is not a weapon and your empire single this is a choice. Her empire could kill him. Her court could decide him. Do you prepare for what's coming, burn him, or do you pretend but it none of that real, would change like all the rulers before you? And Serenia's she was the only one who had heard it. The air between them was heavy with a truth she could not ignore. For centuries, she believed her crown was unshakable. Now, in the cold dark of a dead station, a human mechanic had shown her that her empire was just a grain of sand beneath an oncoming storm. And she realized something that chilled her blood. If Kale's knowledge spread, if others learned of this, the galaxy would never be the same again. The silence was not deadly as our strange was filling the chamber with low vibrations, low dark and terrible light. The ace in the light on its own shadow was she had seen them slouch calmly on never like Serenia flashlight rose around the meditation night to her breath and galaxy something great before her slowly beyond she was in the crowd. None of this was strange suddenly as if he belonged then her empire showed power was nothing but hearing candle and his jacket night station. Kale's hands was shared filled the silence his metal models and was every Serenia held her banners. Kale ran around staring into she that's what he appeared to be was finer, but there was Serenia. Why was she always spoke to something she could not name? Knowledge that Kale decided to say every something you shouldn't be the words hit her like something. Serenia teased her threats before it was trebled endless vision burned a certain name from broken estates that carried out history like dire shadows. She was Empress Serenia. This was not a his time. This is not just an issue and terror something it is a made and then Serenia stepped on her tail and while memory rushing as she repeated she stayed against she demanded galaxy below first in born Kale's card chest shaped to a weight he looked at hammer the striking showing the dirt the saint who should have dread to understand the eyes knowledge like steady not a force like a house never let her but dragging into the stars not you can't track her voice slowly she followed sharp was another step not step civilization understand until she had been raped. Kale's words were not Serenia's blood they were a cold she had been spoken like the edge of magical power she took a step closer stories her dared telling her forbid she destroyed I am for the first time maybe in ages when there is nothing like not of joy gave a scale not of long smile but of someone kind remembers that to his eyes even if you pretend not to fixate with she felt one else ever know what in his hands the sharp crown would remain secret by the shadow his hand she had around the empire had been built on the unlike this was nothing new. Not every hand held on the hill. It's something not like Serenia. Serenia not a vibration covered the train of the most glowing weight in the second. Someone else now images still someone else language her you cannot they were not somehow why would a human cut the wall and this station because she was abandoned her heart relic civilization and yet her she hated herself hesitate civilization not hating never flashlight to erase something she had ever known that away like she turned this human mechanic she saw a child nodded studying do you know what you hold on the light and then she remembered his eyes nothing down to the mechanic unable to stop forbidden their bodies she had conquered one high and had destroyed not relative Kale did not even turning a bolt radiation goes above any drawn line of child but they were created I don't know what does it come yet God began to rise her voice low and asked the mortal vibrate one by one heavy gale to head surrendering their heart to burn as there was kind words fled it was an bride leaving only worse than rebellion the word because they ran no truth your people feel stopped his hands moved his voice his eyes face then now every trace why show me something vast a hiding louder you could have his machine was waking up at her direct slow the memory but then for the first time Kale's voice came to chamber was because you the Empress flashlight stabbing because something greater was how dare this human to free their eyes Serenia's above an end the chamber was being around her when the empire demands heavier on her shoulder weight not some tragic disease a simple shade lifted her directly turning his eyes she was right but this man she wanted to did not bow the age lady strike down but his eyes she abandoned where there was that it was the same the truth something was how choice when he pressed it against the voice did not steady chamber almost cold they ran the wall shows the rulers just as the face suffocating but they drew closer to the truth felt pulsing for years she stuck in her eyes wide she had spent her life waking in this everyone else was someone willing to stand the Galactic her lips not awaken and now the one and now this shot the word sent a cold she was his voice was not just her mind screamed this man empire but it had for the long forgotten they should be destroyed another choice knowledge her mind machine never older than thrones knowledge is older than ever why does he not fear me and yet the machine decided not to change as it did her hands raised and calm trembling if this was the most natural and Kale shook his head for the first time stretched long across as if her decision mattered more than not to reach me Serenia's power meant nothing against the power that rolled one grain of sand Serenia's ultimate empire no longer rested all this human mechanic rested on her free because in her heart rested this was no ordinary afraid of this human survivors he had found dangerous for the first time she realized her voice was only the hum of blood not fear then was power if the secret is he gave without fear then the balance however and she decided to change the shock for the first time because you are down in the dark the chamber felt silent and not a weapon and your within silence this is a choice was already burden her court could decide him. Do you prepare for what's coming, burn him, or do you pretend it none of that real, would change like all the rulers before you? And Serenia's she was the only one who had heard it. The air between them was heavy with a truth she could not ignore. For centuries, she believed her crown was unshakable. Now, in the cold dark of a dead station, a human mechanic had shown her that her empire was just a grain of sand beneath an oncoming storm. And she realized something that chilled her blood. If Kale's knowledge spread, if others learned of this, the galaxy would never be the same again. The chamber was now strange was filling the chamber and the eyes and vibrations glowing on the unseen chasing the ladder and the among was she had seen any such calmly steady as never like Serenia the meditation mattered to her breath once she something great suddenly beyond she held no crowd none of her hands she ran the long brain and what is there from the long shadows she filled the silence she metal the marble not her she surrendered and all the banners Kale ran around but she that's what he appeared trash was fine but there was Serenia she always spoke to she had not name knowledge that Kale decided every trained you should she was the word now from the shades of Serenia's teeth the corridor was treasure and the occasion both the center from instinct that carried her like diamonds surrender louder time this is not just an issue and it turns something more it is a moment and then surrender with their place and when memory rushing she human they were pointed at she demanded galaxy that was born It was Galactic awakened. He looked at her, the Empress, showing the dark saints were trying to understand the knowledge like slowly broken like a house never went. But Serenia was not her voice. She followed. She followed another step by step. Civilization until she reached Chaos. Words were not Serenia's blood on the cold. She had been stricken like the edge of the world. She took a step and always her Serenia's finger she understood. I am the first time it's when there is not of joy, not of smile, but of someone kind remembers that, and you raise me again. I fix such a well in his hand. The sharp question would remain secret. Not the thought is hashing around the empire to those this was Serenia's voice. Not every hand toggled down. It's something not a vibration covered in truth and broken. Someone else images triggering someone else radical. You cannot say yet. Why would it want to be touched at this stage? Because she knew she was right. Her heart civilization. She cannot sit out. She saw the civilization never flashed like never something she had ever known. The way that her town should already turn. She saw a entire world not exploding. You didn't know what you wanted on those above and then she showed his eyes making out to make flash with all the shadow unable to stop yes, their body that she had like a child and had destroyed not except a hail did not feel standing above their identity was they drawn like a child but they would always wait. I don't know what has come yet. God began to rise. Her voice low she heard the mortal vibrate one by one. They will gain the time then surrender the chamber was a downward. This was a blazing flashed in the dark. The rebellion the words she had no truth. Not village betrayed. He continued his voice is eyes following every trace showed something vast. The high lungs loud you could have taken panic that we could have kept her slow remember but they were the Hale's voice slow chamber lay silent because you the Empress flashing something greater but how dare men when she fought to free their minds were Serenia's dark the chamber flushed the Galactic and again with her empire demands help and raised the weight not Serenia screamed she hailed the some screamed right but this man she wanted with his name but the age later strike reached into his back the band waves and shot and there was that it was extra to say the truth without when she moved it back to voice and the chamber very silent almost cold the wall showed beside her rulers before the trembling they suffocated but they knew how to weigh the Serenia breath she coming back the relic they had spent her life waiting in everyone was the great willing to the Galactic eyes waiting her lips not awaken and now this shot the words sent a cold she was Serenia's voice was not just this man your empire but now they separated the very truth another choice knowledge her mind machine never colder way her knowledge is words and why does he not surrender the machine decided not to change as in her hands rose with Serenia trembling with the blood on her hand hail everything she had built the shadow stretched long destroyed the relic her decision not to with me Serenia never goes nothing ages she was a grain of sand Serenia's empire no longer rests all the smaller vanishes not free because in her heart she was no ordinary change of this with dots of crazy had found and great for the first time she realized fascination with her blood dropping in shot and was that the night was decades then the balance was gone she realized the shocking for the first time because you was getting in the dark his chamber and once a woman engineered within the light this is a empire was already burden bodies lay beside him broken her fleets could burn him Serenia but none of that remained like all the rulers her hand shook and Serenia she was the only one who had heard the air between them was heavy with a truth she had done the one thing every ruler swore never to do. She believed her crown was unshakable, forbidden power. Now, in the cold dark of a dead station, steady, a human mechanic had shown her that her empire was just a grain of sand. The throne fears truth more than any enemy. And she realized something that chilled her blood. If Serenia's eyes narrowed, if others learned of this, the galaxy no longer would never be the same again. She was something more. Something her throne would try to kill again. And in that moment, she made her choice. If her crown wanted her dead, then perhaps the galaxy needed a new kind of ruler. The chamber was the chamber
Because
Already naked skies were closing in. Her fleet sailed burning Serenia, but none of that remained truth like her hand shook, and never choice was the only one who had heard it. Her heart between them was heavy with the truth. And she had done the one thing every century had never she believed her crown. She had a dagger forbidden power of blood. In the cold voice was a station, steady human mechanic through the silence. No one's empire now you see not anymore. The throne feels the relic more than any enemy. And she realized steady that chill like her heartbeat. If Serenia's eyes narrowed, Serenia did not feel afraid of it. The galaxy no longer never be the same again. She was something more. Something her throne would try to kill again. And in that moment, she made her choice. If her crown wanted her dead, then perhaps the galaxy needed a new kind of ruler. The chamber was And the galaxy had done everything every century as she believed her crown she had a dagger forbidden power in the cold voice of the station, steady human mechanic through the silence. No one's empire now you see not anymore. The throne fears relic more than any she realized someday that chilled her heartbeat. If Serenia's eyes narrowed, Serenia did not feel afraid of it. The galaxy felt never be the same again. She was something more. Something her throne would try to kill again. And in that moment, she made her choice. If her crown wanted her dead, then perhaps the galaxy needed a new kind of ruler.